Hi, my name's Chad. I'm a certified financial planner here in Canada. I've been going through a series of case studies lately showing just how a retirement can look at different starting times or with different dollar values. Today, the title of this video is Go, Oh No! And it's all about showing how different values and different priorities can lead to different outcomes for different people. You're going to meet Niles and Daphne Crane in just a minute. They've done a fabulous job preparing for their retirement. However, Niles in particular really has some champagne taste, and you're going to see just at how difficult it can make their financial situation. Let's get into it. So we'll start with a quick recap of who Niles and Daphne are, financially speaking. Niles makes about $150,000 a year as a psychologist. They're on the West Coast in Vancouver or Kelowna, something like that. He's going to be getting very, very close to full CPP, 95% to be exact. Daphne's going to get the national average for CPP. They've both been in Canada long enough that they'll get full OAS. They each have mirrored images of their $500,000 RRSP, so $1 million in RSPs. They each have $100,000 in TFSA, so a total of $1.2 million in assets. And this is where I talk with clients a lot. There's two sides to the coin of assets, and the other side is spending. When we see articles that say $1.7 million is what you need for retirement, for many people, that's way too much. And for many people, that's nowhere near enough. And so the other side of it is, how much do you spend? Let's start by jumping into their base scenario. Just their day-to-day spending, Niles and Daphne are spending $7,000 per month or $84,000 per year. They own their home free and clear, mind you, so there's no mortgage on top of that. And if we stopped here with just day-to-day spending, I see that there's some shortfalls starting to show their head when they turn 83. If I go to the goal progress chart here, I can see they're at about 86% goal achievement. If I go down, they're gonna pass away in this current projection with zero in assets. They still have their condo, which, just as a reminder, I set real estate to 0%, because that's usually not really what we're talking about. But they've had to accumulate nearly $800,000 of debt against their home to make this projection work. This is obviously not ideal again. And again, this is just their day-to-day spending. Now, I'm confident I can find enough efficiencies or tax savings or things like that to bring that 86% into 100%, over 100% territory. For example, their CPP is starting at 60, things like that. I can always look at different things. They certainly have the assets to carry them through their 60s without CPP. But what's important to them is what's beyond the day-to-day spending. And for them, that's travel. And I mentioned this before. In particular, Niles likes to travel well. And for them, they want to be doing $25,000 of travel a year from 60 all the way to 75. And that's what they want to consider their go-go period. Let's look at how that impacts their projection. So now we've added in the $25,000 of go-go spending, and just a reminder, that's increasing along the way with inflation. And now Niles and Daphne are having shortfalls starting at 73. That is way too early. That is not what we want to be seeing by any stretch of the imagination. If I go here to the goal progress, we're only at 59%. Something has got to give here. So let's go to planning first, see how much we can get around this with planning and strategy and CPP timing and withdrawal order and things like that. But at 60%, 59%, I know something big is going to have to give. So let's eventually get there, but let's do this one step at a time. The first thing I always test is CPP timing. So the first thing I want to do here with Niles and Daphne is push it to 65 and see if that makes a difference. This is the go-go, oh no versus the go-go, oh no with CPP at 65. And we've added 8% to the goal achievement. We're moving the dial, we're helping certainly, but that's nowhere near enough. So we got to try 70 and see how that looks. Before I show the results of pushing it to 70, this is just a reminder of why I think this is such a good idea for many people, not for everybody. But for cases like Daphne and Niles, they have the assets to carry themselves through their 60s, no problem. $1 million can very easily do that. But by pushing their CPP, they're actively trading, leaning more on their investments in their 60s for possibly definitely a more robust income from CPP in their 70s and 80s. If your life expectancy will not push late into the 80s, that may not make sense for you. If you do not have the assets to weather those years, it may not make sense for you. I'm certainly biased towards it, but it is not for everyone. In last week's case, it even illustrated that it wasn't right for that particular client. So here we're comparing the go-go oh no to the go-go oh no, but with CPP at 70. And yes, we've added 13% to their goal achievement and we're starting to bring it up, but there's still a lot of work to be done here. And realistically, if they're not willing to change something, there's not really much I can do as a professional because I can't create money for my clients. I wish I could, but I can't. So what do we do next? So the next thing I'm going to look at is withdrawal order. The default in the software is to go to the TFSA, which I don't always agree with. In fact, I very rarely agree with that. So I switched it here to really protect the TFSA long term. And if I go to the comparison and I'm just comparing that one difference, it makes absolutely no difference in the grand scheme of things. So I would do this for the psychological benefits of delaying your TFSA withdrawals, but mathematically, it doesn't do anything to help the client either. So it's time for me to now come in with the rough recommendations. Your spending's too high. Maybe you need to sell your house. Maybe you need to work more. Which of these are coming on the table? Now, if you've watched Frasier and you know anything like I do about Niles and Daphne, which by the way, one of my favorite shows, we know Niles gets really attached to his thing. So the likelihood of them stepping away from their high-end condo in BC somewhere is pretty slim. He wants to keep his appearances up. So the $1 million condo, it's staying. We're not going to be able to sell that. So can we address spending? What if I come back to them and I cut that go-go spending in half and I drop it from $25,000 to $12,500 a year? I still increase it with inflation. What would that do? That's what this scenario is here. So I have that dropped in half. Again, no other changes are being made. The shortfalls are now starting at 77 as opposed to 72, 73. So I mean, at least we've pushed that, but we're still having shortfalls way too soon. I don't want to see shortfalls ever in a projection, but I certainly don't want to see them at any time before 85 at the absolute earliest. Let's look at the goal achievement. What does this look like? Now we're back up to about 84%. If you remember, the original projection before I brought in their travel, which is important to them, was at around 86%. So we're back to similar territory as that. But now I'm out of ideas, right? For the most part. I mean, there'll be a few other little strategies here and there, timing issues, taking advantage maybe of a cash wedge, maybe increasing asset allocation a little bit. But there's, for the most part, none of those is going to bring me up 16% to 100% goal achievement. And certainly they're not going to bring me to 110% goal achievement, which is really where I want to see people before they retire. So it's time for Niles and Daphne to dig in deep and realize something's got to change. And in their case, like I said, the condo's not going anywhere. So it's Niles has to work a little longer. So if they're not going to be moving on their condo and they're not going to be adjusting their spending, they're telling me that really the choice they're making is that Niles has to work a little longer. Now he makes really healthy income, which is great. So I looked at 1 year and it didn't move the dial. And so here we're going to look at 2 extra years of work. Now, again, he makes 150. And in conjunction to working 2 more years, I'm also having them do what I call trying on the retirement. It's almost like a test drive. I recommend people at different stages of life try on different expenses in advance of actually committing to them. So for them, start getting used to $7,000 a month spending as a retiree, even as you're working, because it will illustrate a few things to you. It'll illustrate, is $7,000 a month too much? Is it not enough? Is it just right? It'll also, in their case, allow them to pump money into investments and get them built up a little bit. And it should protect against any withdrawals coming out of those accounts. So we've talked about this before in other videos. At this stage, whether you're spending like this or not, the working 1, 2, 3 additional years is really a lever you can lean on that can be very, very powerful. So if we come here back into the software, they're trying on the mortgage at $84,000 a year in today's dollars, just a reminder on that. He's making his 150. They're going to sacrifice their travel for those 2 years, but their investments are going to be going up. They're contributing 40 and about 40,000 again to RSPs, which is great. Now I scroll down, shortfalls are starting at about 81. I go to the comparison tool and I'm seeing their goal achievement is still not even 90%, it's 89%. Now, I can go into further like minutia detail, which is what I would do with an actual client, but you can see here how the choices and priorities that you have can make a massive impact on what a financial projection will look like. For someone like Niles and Daphne from here, I would probably bring up the fact that the likelihood that they're going to spend that consistently through their entire retirement is pretty low. There's lots of academic research that suggests that usually around 70 real spending starts to diminish. I could again encourage them to think about the condo, or again, maybe their day-to-day spending can come down by even $500, $1,000 per month over time. All of these things can contribute to a more successful financial plan. But for you, you may be looking at this and say, oh, no brainer, I'll sell the condo. Or, oh, no brainer, I'll lower my spending. Or whatever it is, your choices are yours. I'm not here to judge you for what your priorities are. I'm here to bring the math to show how it can, or in their case, cannot work despite having $1.2 million invested. So if it's time for me to review your financial picture and see how we can get your goal achievement to 110, 120%, there'll be a link in the description down below that comes directly to me. Until next time, keep planning.